friends. Jessa Francis here. This is the Empowered Path podcast. This is episode 4. I am on a roll, people. This is exciting, and I'm in a really good mood today. And I knew that Untoxicated and my alcohol-free deal was going to get intertwined here. And so I was thinking about once a month, you know, one out of every 4 episodes, I'm probably going to be diving in a little more into the realm of alcohol-free products, mindful drinking, mindfulness. I think it is just so important. And a lot of you that know me may know me because of my alcohol-free beverage consultancy, Untoxicated. I got started with Untoxicated after needing to leave the alcohol-free bottle shop and boutique Sachet a year ago now. Because my life went a little topsy-turvy and the universe just decided that I was going to go off in a different direction, as it does. So I wanted to actually dive in here and tell you about my journey with alcohol, about my journey and how I got started as an alcohol-free beverage consultant. When I tell people, my job title, and that's kind of what I use when I'm in that professional setting. Jessa Francis, CEO and founder of Untoxicated, a non-alcoholic beverage consultancy. Like, how in the world do you end up there? So I'm going to dive in to that story, my why behind it, all of those things. So yeah, let's get started. So it was 2021, I believe. And I'm living in Charleston, South Carolina. I had gone through a lot of craziness and didn't know where I was going to go. And if you have listened to the past couple podcasts, you'll have an idea of how I ended up in Charleston. So I'm in Charleston. I had just ended my relationship with the work environment that I had previously at a luxury clothing company. I'd been a distribution center manager working 70 hours a week. I didn't get to see my kids. Even though I was working so much, I still was struggling paying my bills. It was very stressful and kind of toxic, to be honest. It wasn't the right thing for me. And I knew that. The universe knew that. Everybody who knew me knew that. It wasn't the right fit. And so after 6 months of working there, that ended. And I went back to working TaskRabbit. Now, if you don't know what TaskRabbit is, TaskRabbit is it's an app kind of like DoorDash where you can hire somebody to do tasks for you instead of, going to pick up your food. They will come over and build your IKEA furniture or pull the weeds out of your garden or help you pack and move. So I was doing all kinds of random tasks, anything that I felt like I was up for. And I'm a worker, and I've always been a worker. And so I was like, this is fine. I can use my muscle. I'm going to go after this. And so I was working TaskRabbit, and I got hired by the beautiful Emily Hines, the founder and CEO of Sachet, to come paint her living room. And I was just painting an accent wall in her living room. It is such a funny story to me now that I look back on it and how things worked out. But I am in there painting her wall and just talking to her. And at this point in time, she had still not opened the doors. She knew that she was going to open this shop, and she was looking for help. And so I was just in there painting and telling her, well, I have a master's degree in creative writing. I'm starting my own freelance writing business. I'm prior military. I just got done doing this job as a distribution center manager. I know logistics, transportation, da 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 da, kind of filling her in on me, right? And she's like, wow, I actually could use someone like you. I need help in my warehouse badly. And I need help with copywriting and, things to go on to the website. And so I was like, oh, amazing. And she's like, well, would you come in for an interview? And I was like, 100%. I sent her my resume and I went in. And at the time, it was just Emily and our creative director, Elise, who is the person behind Sachet's beautiful branding. And so I went in there and I was just myself. And I remember Elise afterward telling me how quirky I was. And I'm like, I have nobody to be but me. Like, I'm just showing up. And so I immediately went in there and just started slinging boxes and organizing and getting to know the product. And yeah, it was kind of magic right away. I fell hard, in love with Emily, with Elise, with everything, with the mission. Like, I had never even heard of alcohol free stuff besides O'Doul's. So all of a sudden I'm like, wow, it opened up a whole new world for me. And if you have listened to my past podcasts, you'll know I had this obsession building about being able to start doing nature retreats. And I had been thinking maybe that's what I need to, fall back into, or these nature retreats, and really just get back into my creative writing, my memoir writing, and that kind of thing. And I thought, this mindful drinking stuff, all these alcohol-free products, this is perfect. It's like the perfect refreshment for my retreats. It's the perfect, accompaniment. It has the mindset that I want, health and wellness and taking care of yourself. And we were saying these phrases like own your relationship with alcohol. And I was like, I needed to own my relationship with alcohol at that time, because when I was in Scotland, for example, even though I was hiking all over the place, you best believe I knew what whiskey was. So and then prior military is crazy, the amount of booze. It's insane how much you drink when you're in the service. Or not everyone, but a lot of us. And so I had already, had my own struggles with alcohol. I'd seen it ingrained in my family, yada, yada. And so it resonated with me on a lot of levels. And plus, I was getting to go in there. I was getting to decorate and merchandise and make things pretty. I was creating a flower wall. And I was really starting to this feels more like me. And also, I was I was beginning to write copy. I was actually writing how amazing, and then I was also using my body and slinging those boxes and building shelves and creating a system in the warehouse and all of that stuff. So it was like a match made in heaven. And so I was there before the very first day, and that we opened the doors. I'm a founding member of this incredible business that I had so much belief and faith in just right away. I was like, this is going to take off. This is going to be amazing. I truly felt it in my bones. Alcohol free drinks, it was not a fad. It was not going anywhere. This was a lifestyle shift. People were going to own their relationship with alcohol, something that had been glamorized in our culture, that had been pushed on us. And things were going to shift, and things were going to get better, and our world was going to become a better place. And then I got the opportunity to start interviewing the founders of these brands. So the people behind the brand that had dreamed up this product, I was doing a Meet the Makers post for our blog. And so I was getting to talk to the founders, hear from them about their why behind the story, how a lot of them had their own COVID stories. So many of the alcohol free brands are like COVID babies that were born from like they're trapped inside, they're drinking too much, they want to take ownership of their life. And so just so many beautiful stories, and I'm a lover of the story if you haven't figured that out yet. So I just more and more I fell just head over heels. And then, I was also working with the customers. So I was front of house, I was back of house, I was writing for the website, and then I was starting to build on partnerships with the brands. And it was so multifaceted, and I was wearing all these hats. And if you've ever, been a part of a startup, you know what it's like to, you know, do like 1,000 things at once. And it just fed my soul in this beautiful, beautiful way. But what made me how I am today was the fact that I learned. I was tasting and trying and learning. I wanted to know how the alcohol was removed from wine. I wanted to know what the difference was between alcohol removed and alternative and botanical and one for one replacement and all of these things. I needed to be able to explain it to our customers, and I needed to be able to write about it. So there was that journalist in me was, set loose, and I was researching and doing and educating myself on all of this stuff. And so a couple years later, of course, like my life takes this huge shift where I can't stay in Charleston because of different situations with my children moving to Texas and all of this stuff. So I had to leave Charleston, and at the time, we're still this small company and growing, and there was so much love between us. But either I had to be able to be remote, or it was going to end. And so unfortunately, we still have this beautiful relationship and a wonderful friendship that I, hold dearly. And I know that I will be a sachet girl forever. And I know that our paths will always intertwine. And they have repeatedly over the last year. But I was leaving, and I was like, now what do I do? I had this wonderful job that I loved, that I had so much passion for, but the universe was like, sorry, this isn't it. Move forward. And so, of course, in the back of my mind, there's the retreats and everything is still there. The writing, it's my book and blah, blah, blah. It's still there. But I was like, there's a reason that this mindful drinking is here. There's a reason I know all this stuff. And so I was like, I have all of this alcohol-free beverage information in my mind, living rent-free. It's got to make me money. And I thought sales, I'll be a consultant, I can educate, all of that, right? I have a wealth of knowledge. I've tasted and tried 400 plus products. I know these founders. I know these people. I know the customer. I I knew the ins and outs of the marketing. I knew how to merchandise it. All of the stuff, right? So I was like, all right, I need to come up with a name for my consultancy, and I need to create a portfolio of brands that is educational, right? I wanted to be able to go out into the world and explain alcohol free. I wanted to be able to educate on the products, right? So I wanted a portfolio of non-competing brands, the brands that I knew sold well, that people loved, that I loved, that I was drinking, so I got a alcohol removed wine. I got an alternative wine. I got a functional wine. I got a functional spirit, a functional ready to drink, one beer, one spirit, a botanical spirit, and a one for one replacement. I wanted to have a Campari replacement, something floral, like that way, like no matter what, no matter where I went, whether it was a bar, a restaurant, corporate business, anything like that, I would have everything I needed to truly and fully educate, right, on the industry as a whole. Not only could I go in there with beautiful examples of each category and each different type of product, I had the best of the best, and I could tell them, this is how to sell it. These are the key words and phrases to use. This is how to put it on a menu. This is what speaks to your ideal target audience and what doesn't. Don't use the word mocktail, use the word alcohol free cocktail. And my slogan became elevate the experience, because that's what I wanted to do. I want, for me, I want an elevated experience. When I go to a bar and a restaurant, or that third place, right, between work and home, and when I'm out with my friends or family, and I sit down and have a beautiful dinner, and if I'm going to order a cocktail, what do I want it to do? I want it to elevate my experience. I wanted to accentuate, right, what this beautiful experience that I'm having. I wanted to take it to that next level. And so if I could do that with a non-alcoholic cocktail versus an alcoholic one, and I knew I could now because I had tasted and tried, I had made all of these drinks, I have done the demos and the tastings. And so that's how Untoxicated got started. And since then, it's funny, like I said, when I left, I knew that somehow mindful drinking, from the very beginning, I knew that this thing was going to take me into my future. I knew that it was going to eventually bloom into what I wanted, right? These nature retreats, the writing, the coaching, all of that. I didn't think that it was going to happen that fast, though. I thought I'd be with Sachet for 5 years, I'd get stability, and then I would have the money to open up a retreat center, etc. Well, apparently not. I just like got thrown to the wolves and ended up, bouncing here and there and everywhere and trying to be the best mother that I could be while also building this consultancy. And next thing I know, I like happenstance and thrown onto a yoga mat. And I meet these incredible people, and I learn what pranayama is and meditation and things that I had dabbled in but had never dove in. And my whole body was just covered in goosebumps during each one of these experiences. Like, lean in, this is the path. And so Untoxicated is a thing that I do and that I love and that I'm building, and that it's always going to be there for me, and it's going to be included in my retreats and everything. But now I have the empowered path. The empowered path that has mindful drinking, but also mindful thinking, mindful eating, mindful movement, mindful conversation, anything conscious, right? It's all comes back to self-awareness. It all comes back to what I'm trying to teach in my memoir writing. And so it's this beautiful story that has led me just here to this very spot at this very moment. And I am grateful for every single step of it. I am grateful for everyone that I have met. And I cannot wait to include more and more of that into this podcast, to bring on some founders, to have them talk to you about their beautiful products, about how to use them, and their story. I mean, their story is what is so powerful, and I think what is truly beneficial to all of us. and being able to share that. And other people who are dealing with, going through sobriety. And I started off as just someone who wanted to cut back, someone who, yes, wanted to own their relationship with alcohol. And I tell you, like, I haven't had a drink in over a month. And even then, like, if I have one, it's like one here or there. It just doesn't do anything for me anymore. I don't need it. I every great once in a while there's like an experience that calls for it. But that's my personal thing, right? And that's the beauty of this. It's inclusive. It is inclusive. It is the people that, have struggled and need 100% sobriety. And then there are the people who've not struggled as much with it and they just have no need for it. Or they can somehow, like get to a point that they can handle. We all have our own thing and there's no judgment, right? That's inclusivity. There's no judgment. And when you have that beautiful elevated cocktail, whether it's a pomegranate martini or an old fashioned, and there's an alcoholic one and then there's a non-alcoholic one, and you don't know the difference, and it doesn't matter. And that's the experience, right? That's where you can still feel that glamorization that is sold to us by these alcoholic companies, by the alcohol industry, and like it used to be with tobacco and smoking. It was glamorizing. Well, now you don't even know whether there's alcohol in my cup or not because it looks the exact same as yours. And it probably tastes almost the same too, depending on what it is. And even better, all the functional stuff, all those functional beverages that are L-theanine. It's boosting my serotonin levels and literally making me feel happier, helping me focus and feel more clarity. I mean, there's just so many things. I remember when my kids were little and I was like, man, I wish I could just bottle up their energy. Well, they have now, and it's wild to me. And it's natural, most of it. So that's that story. Then that's the end of this podcast. So thank you so much for everyone that's been here so far. I hope you continue on this journey with me. Expect a new episode every Tuesday. And remember, big, deep inhale, exhale. Remember to breathe. Remember that you are loved, that you are seen, and that you are heard. And if you don't feel that way, join the Empowered Path, even the free portion of it. Come join me on Sundays and feel that way. Know that you are seen, heard, and loved, because you are. Have a beautiful, happy day, my friends.